Hello, and thank you for joining us on the program Let's Talk on Love World Plus, where we discuss varying issues as they affect society. Now, today we will be looking at the Petroleum Industry Bill and Nigeria's economic projections. Now, the Petroleum Industry Bill, which is the bill meant to effectively regulate Nigeria's oil and gas sector, has experienced a lot of setbacks. The bill was first drafted in 2008, but got mired in politics with the varied interests, which resulted in several versions of the bill. Now, the current draft of the bill came into being after the minister set up a technical petroleum industry bill committee and review and harmonize the various versions of the old bill and then come up with a new comprehensive draft that would address the concerns of stakeholders in the industry. Now, the question now is, how can these controversies which the bill is generating currently be addressed to pave the way for speedy passage of the bill into law? Now, these are just some of the questions that we hope to analyze and also answer in this edition of Let's Talk. And to help me do that, I'm joined by Taiwo Adedeji, who is a legal practitioner. He is a social expert as well as a public policy analyst. You're welcome to Let's Talk.
You're most welcome. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yes. Okay, so we're talking about the Petroleum Industry Bill, also known as PIB, and with the progress that we have been making so far. Now, the bill has delayed for a very long time. We keep hearing, you know, this version is out and that version is out. And people were wondering at some point, people actually thought it's been done away with. Nothing is going to come of it anymore. Now, because of that delay, there seemed to be some sort of pullback, you know, by investors, people who were meant to be stakeholders in that industry. Now, this, of course, is according to experts who say that as a result of this delay, people are drawing back, investors are drawing back. Do you agree with this assertion? How true is it?
Well, even though it is still existing in the realm of speculation, but it is very, very possible, because it's a reasonable conclusion that we can draw out that if there have been so much delay in itself has created a sort of uncertainties, and there's no investor that want to invest in an economy where there is still uncertainty, because they have to be very sure of what is going to be the implication of their investments against the backdrop of the uncertainties and controversies that have been generated, you know, that has now occasioned the delay in the passage of the PIB. Okay. So to that extent, it may be true, though there are no statistics to actually say, look, investors, or these are the number of will-be investors that are drawing back by the slow pace of the passage of the PIB into law.
Okay. Now, let's talk a bit about these controversies. What exactly were the controversies? Because we know that the bill was meant to establish a legal framework, as it were, to sort of regulate, you know, maybe also come up with some institutions within the Nigerian petroleum industry. What were some of these controversies that brought about the delay in the passage of the bill?
Well, the first and foremost, you know, since it exists as a bill which is yet to be promulgated into law, most of the things that we get to know about the bill on a daily basis are through the media, or maybe watching some of the debates, you know, going on around or discussion, okay, you know, involving the bill. Well, you know, the controversy that has played up mostly, or in the loudest context, has been this issue of sectional controversy, where it is being, you know, alleged by, you know, in fact, it has created a sort of north-south, okay, you know, dichotomy, in the sense that, you know, for instance, there is an aspect of a bill that I understood to be, that is going to be creating a kind of 10% remittance for the local oil-producing communities, which are majorly situated in the south, particularly in the Niger Delta, okay, axis of the southern part of Nigeria. But legislators from other sections of the country are not feeling comfortable. They are not very comfortable with the content of that bill, because they are, in their own reckoning, they feel that it is going to create a kind of a double opportunity for the so-called oil producing communities, in the sense that there's already this derivation principles, being created, which is a constitutional thing. Then the issue of giving them 10% remittance. So the northern legislators, we are told, are not comfortable with that provision of the bill. On the other hand, to actually counteract that, the opposition of the northern legislators, some southern legislators are also reading sectional meaning into the opposition, in the sense that there was this very loud allegation that 83% or thereabout of the Nigerian oil wells are owned by northerners. I don't know how far that is true, although that has been debunked effectively by even one of a southern activist who said that, look, it is actually the multinationals who are in control of these oil wells, not the northerners, because that is to create an impression that there is already a kind of indigenous control in the first place, which is one of the things that the petroleum industry is trying to create, that is trying to indigenize the ownership of the oil sector in the country.
That's talking about Nigerian content.
Nigerian content. Okay. That is what it's trying to bring a kind of maybe local content, that is the national content, to it, as opposed to the current domination by the international investors, represented by multinational companies. Okay,
we'll still get back to that issue. Now, do you see a likely resolution of these controversies? Because these things still persist. I mean, yes, because of the sections within the country, there are always going to be some people that will feel we are going to be shortchanged by some of the provisions of this framework. So do you see a likely resolution of these issues within?
To me, essentially, it's an intra-class struggle, which is likely to be resolved one way or the other, because the same question played up itself, the same controversy during the indigenization era of the early 70s. You see, it is a kind of struggle between Nigerian local capitalists. Permit me to use the word, because most of the time when the so-called national cake is being shared, the local capitalists believe that, look, this section of the country is getting more than fair share of the deal. And that has been the basis for the controversy. So, but in as much as the industrialists, the capitalists, they will always have a way of resolving their differences through maybe roundtable discussion and consensus. And at the end of the day, it will be resolved, because as much as the people who are feeling that they are being shortchanged, if their fears are addressed, I think it will be resolved. It's as simple as that.
Okay, well, if you are just joining, we're still looking at the Petroleum Industry Bill, or the PIB, and Nigeria's economic projections. I'm still talking with Taiwo Adedeji, who is a legal practitioner, a social expert, as well as a public policy analyst. All right, now back to the bill. Now, Nigeria's Petroleum Minister, Alison Madueke, said that the new bill would look at the unbundling of the nation's petroleum company, which is the NNPC. It would also look at the creation of an inspectorate unit, and also independent regulatory agencies, as well as a fiscal regime in the oil and gas sector. Now, can you throw some more light on some of these reforms that I just mentioned and how they're supposed to aid the sector?
Well, like I said earlier, most of the reforms that are contained in the bill, to the best of my knowledge, so far so good, are things that we get to read through the media. We can't say until the bill becomes law. That is when we can say with a kind of precision that this is what is going to be the content of the bill. So to that extent, everything still exists in the realm of speculation, and in the mind of those who are championing the promulgation of the bill, or those who are in the position. It is not you and I that are in position to actually effect the bill becoming a law. So until that time, I just believe that so far there are still areas that the bill has not addressed. All the areas like the issue of NNPC, I don't know what the minister intends or what the bill intends to do with NNPC, but I believe that NNPC should still exist, but with a sort of reform and organization. I believe the bill should not be talking about privatization of NNPC, which has been one of the programs in the successive government in Nigeria, which has been one of the agenda that has been yet to be implemented. NNPC should not be privatized. Rather, they can give the so-called local investors the opportunity to create their own industries that will rival and compete with NNPC under a fair competitive atmosphere. The issue, I believe, I don't know what the bill is saying on the issue of bunkering, illegal oil activities, because if you look at the issue of bunkering activities, the attention it has generated, I don't think bunkering, it is small fries who are involved in bunkering. So the bill should address things like that. There should be criminal sanction, more criminal sanction for illegal oil exploration activities. So those are some of the things that I believe the bill should address. It is. I don't think the indication given by the minister is all exhaustive. There should still be areas that the bill will have to, address in order for it to actually reflect the national character that the bill is meant to be.
Okay. Now, going back to what the minister said as one of the reforms within that bill, she talked about an inspectorate unit, some monitoring agencies, and that's making me wonder. Now, before the bill, did we have a monitoring body or an organization or an institution that was responsible for monitoring activities, both in the upstream and downstream sector of the petroleum industry? Because, I'm asking in the light of the revelations that have come forward. You will remember during the fuel subsidy probe, we heard about the millions and billions of monies that were siphoned. So did we have anything, did we have a monitoring institution before this bill?
Before this bill, I think we've heard about DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources. So that's the kind of a monitoring, body. But I believe that a monitoring body of a national importance should not just be for the purpose of inspecting petrol stations who are selling above fuel pump price.
Is that what DRP was doing?
That is what DPR, that is what we hear them doing most of the time. The issue, because if DPR has actually been living up to its responsibilities, the issue of the controversy, the corruption, the large scale, the scandal generated by this fuel subsidy probe shouldn't have been in the first place, because DPR has always been in a position to arrest some of these tendencies before they get to a scandalous level and national embarrassment like we had it during the fuel subsidy crisis. So if the PIB may create its own unit, we need a kind of institution where institutions should be strengthened rather than creating multiple enforcement institutions. However, if there is need for those enforcement institutions to be created, their roles should be clearly defined within the statute, and there are limits, and there should be a meeting point where they can work together.
Okay.
Like, I understand a section of the bill, like Section 9,